GameScoop.
Justin and I saw Paranormal Activity 4 over the weekend.
How was that?
It's not good.
No? Really?
It's not good. Was number one at the box office, though.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I think, but it fell over Paranormal Activity 3. Paranormal Activity 3 opened to something like 50 million. This one opened to something like 30 million. So you might think, oh, it's over for the Paranormal Activity franchise, until you remember that it was made for $5 million.
Yes.
The entire movie was made for $5 million.
Like, they make their money back like in 5 minutes after the show,
That's
at midnight on Thursday. I know.
And why was it bad? If you had to surmise the.
So this is have you watched the other movies?
I've only seen the first one.
Okay, well this is the
I've only
first
seen
one.
the first two.
This is the first one to continue the story after the first one, because 2 and 3 went back in time.
Got it.
And I don't think it is satisfying. I don't think it takes the story anywhere new or interesting. It's just kind of like they kind of do the same sort of spooks. It's like, oh, I heard a bump downstairs, and then where it ends up at the end, you're like, what? Why did they do this? Why did they introduce this character? Why did this person do that? Oh well, it's over now. Guess I'll see you guys next year, Paranormal Activity 5.
Yeah, it was
And
not
you will.
good.
You'll see them next year. You'll be there.
Well, you were just talking about the lead girl, though.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that I didn't like that movie very much. I didn't think it was very scary, but I liked the main, so it stars teenagers this time, and the two like main characters of these two it's a family, but mainly it follows the daughter and her boyfriend. And I thought they were both like pretty cool. Like they were both good actors, and you know, the boyfriend's like kind of a little bit annoying, but he's also like kind of charming and you like him.
Yeah.
And they're both, cool.
Yeah, but she's only 15.
She's only 15,
Yeah,
so nobody get any.
Your inclination might be to think she's really cute, but
Don't think she's too cute.
Be careful.
Yeah.
But she was good, like you said.
We can think she's politely cute. That's
Politely cute?
Really
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
That doesn't hold up in court.
I don't know why. Your Honor, I just thought she was politely cute.
It doesn't mean that we
I
have to
just
be
politely
physical.
asked her back to my house.
When does politely cute equate to like getting physical?
What? Okay.
I don't know.
No, none. It never. That's never
was a
when it
trick
equates.
question
Yeah,
then.
it was a trick question.
I love that you call sex getting physical.
Yeah.
That's great. You're like
No
in
one has called it
CNC
that
Music
since like,
Factory.
yeah, 1980s.
Let's get physical.
But I hope she can go on to do other things, because like, you know, those movies are weird. They're supposed to be found footage, and they're not supposed to be actors, right? So I hope that doesn't hold her back from actually going on to do other stuff. None of the actors from the other movies have gone on. I've seen them elsewhere.
Do you think people are like, we really need a good, cute, blonde girl for this movie? If only that Paranormal Activity chick was an actress instead of
a real person.
So you're saying like Paranormal Activity movies, like if you're in one, your career dies forever? Like you never act
Right?
again?
I mean,
It's
they're
haunted.
not credited
Like
as
Macbeth.
actors.
Yeah, your IMDb page is haunted.
the Macbeth of movies and film.
Wow.
wow, getting literary.
Yep.
I mean, the first one was presented.
Literary.
The first one was presented as this. The police found this footage.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't even bother doing that anymore.
No,
by
I
the
don't.
way.
Now it
They're just
actually
like,
says directed by, story by, and all that stuff.
So is it still about how somebody made a deal with a demon?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, because that's sort of ridiculous.
and it's all about Connect now too.
Really?
Yeah, so
Connect is like the star of the show.
It's true.
in
There's a
Paranormal
Connect in their
Activity 4.
living room, and then you can see when they turn the lights off, the infrared dots. They can see them in the camera when they
Apparently
turn the
that's a
infrared
real
camera.
thing with Connect?
Yeah, if you have an infrared camera, you can see all the Connect dots. That's a real thing. And then you can see like in the background there might be like a ghost like in the dots, like following them.
In the
Yeah.
Connect.
You can see
Yeah.
the outline of the ghost.
Yeah.
Toby is the ghost name. The
Really?
demon's name.
Wow.
That's the worst name.
I kind of like how it's like a normal name, and then I think that makes it more haunting.
So is this the most successful thing that Connect has ever been involved with?
It could be.
Wow.
It could be.
We touched feet
We
for a second.
did. That was weird.
Foot 5.
Anyway,
Our
Anyway.
feet just got physical.
welcome to GameScoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. This is Brian Altano.
Hi.
This is Justin Davis.
Hey.
That's Ryan Clements. Over the weekend, the new BioShock Infinite trailer was released.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
People can see it on IGN.com.
You haven't watched it yet.
I didn't watch it. I'm
Allow
sorry.
us just a few minutes here
Yes.
to discuss. We'll tell you about it.
Okay.
Justin likes it a lot.
Yeah.
I was a little underwhelmed. What did you think?
Why were you underwhelmed?
Well, that you answered my question with another question.
Oh, shit. I like it. I'm kind of waiting to see how much of it just sort of feels scripted and how much of it is just sort of like a little open worldy.
This guy knows what's up.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about this game recently. There is a lot of, I don't know if fears are the right word, but we're not really sure about this game. At this point, BioShock Infinite doesn't feel like a surefire hit to
Sure.
us.
Yeah.
Because they missed E3, they missed Gamescom. It's coming out in
February.
4 months.
Yeah.
And none of us have played the game. Mm-hmm. So like that's not really a good sign.
There's also been a slew of people have left the team.
Yes.
From start to finish.
Talent has been leaving.
never a good sign. But it's not damning of the final game or anything. But it's just never a good sign.
Right.
They've been in like media blackout for a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. So we've been thinking like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they missed that release date. But here they come with a new trailer, and then at the end it says very clearly, February 26th.
That's a good point. That trailer kind of puts a stake in the ground and says we are not delaying this again.
It'd be hard to push it back again.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of speculation that maybe this was going to end up being, they were going to delay it to the fall and be a next-gen title.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, sure.
And obviously they can do whatever they want. They could still do that, but why put out a trailer that very in big bold letters has a new date?
Yeah.
If that's their plan. So.
But the reason I was underwhelmed maybe is that I don't feel like it showed a lot of new stuff. A lot of it was the same sort of game mechanics and ideas that we've seen before. There are a few new things, but maybe not enough for a game that's been on blackout for so long.
I thought
that is just like staring blankly. I don't know what's going on.
We saw the rails again that you're flying around on. We saw most of the same weapons. I think we maybe saw some new plasmid stuff.
Yeah, but come on, if they didn't have the rails, people would be like, where are the rails at?
That's true.
Like, that's the game.
Where are the rails at?
Like, that's what the game is you shoot, then you have plasmids and guns. Like, I don't know what you expected.
I'm just saying.
More new stuff.
I thought the
More
trailer was
nude?
great.
More nude.
I give that,
Yeah,
I give
that's
that
what I'm
trailer a
talking
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's as good as a trailer could possibly be.
I loved it.
Wow.
I absolutely loved it. I thought the
I loved it.
No, I thought the music was great. I thought it made the gameplay look really interesting. It made it seem very, like, every single moment they showed in that trailer showed, like, a tremendous amount of care. Like, there's a little, like, it's 1 second long where they're on a beach. And there's, like, characters in bathing suits and, like, kids running. That all had to be, like, animated, and people had to create all that art and all the, like, every single moment was like that. There's a moment where one of the, I don't know what they're called, but the big, like, crow thing is, like, bursting through a wall. You see the wall all,
Toby.
like, breaking apart.
That's
Toby the bird.
But
I'm like, that looks amazing.
We've seen it before, though.
So?
I'm just saying.
I love that you're like, oh man, they made art and they animated it. Like, that's their job.
No, but like
That's
a
what
lot
they're
of
supposed to do.
but like a lot of games aren't like that. Like they don't have. It's just obvious. Like there's a moment where you're in a shop and like you can see how much everything costs on the board, and there's like items on the shelves, and like just that level of detail. Like it's just clear that the amount of care and artistry and craftsmanship in that game is like above and beyond what
Sure.
almost any
I mean,
seems to
the
be.
style and the art direction is phenomenal. It's probably the best I've seen in a long time.
But the reason I said this guy, when I was pointing at you and said this guy knows what he's talking about, is my one fear from that trailer is that it did make the game seem very scripted.
Yes.
You can't get away with if there's something bursting in the wall, like chasing you or things like that. Like those moments,
That wall's done forever in that.
yeah, like you can't.
There's nobody gonna come along and fix that wall now. Like
What
go
if-
on the rail and with his handyman tools. And
What if
fix the
that's how
wall.
the game works?
It can't.
Could you imagine if
Yeah.
there was just a small team of construction workers off to the side, and every time the
just
walls
starts-
Like,
I'm imagining
they get in, they're like, spackling. They're like, oh man, this is such a
Stop
pain.
bursting through the damn wall.
I imagine there are dozers like in
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
They just rebuild everything.
Fraggle
constantly.
Rock
just like-
reference. Yeah, so I do worry about maybe the game being more scripted than, BioShock was renowned for its ability to sort of come at things in the
Sure.
way that you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the cool thing about the combat. So, but now we have like this whole sky rail system. We'll see. To me, it almost looked like when we first started seeing the game, you could just hop on and off those things at any given time, have huge, intense battles like in the air and stuff like that, and it just like could travel around the whole world like that.
Yeah, I mean,
but it
there's
seems
almost-
like there might be like little pocketed environments where you can do that kind of stuff, and then they're just like, okay, go through the door, you're in the next area now.
That's kind of what I was thinking is like, if they do it right and do it well, it could be the best of both worlds where like, let's say you go in some shop or go in somewhere, you go to the next area and some really crazy action set piece happens that's all like very scripted. And then maybe after that, you're like in this space and then it's, free roaming to go do what you want to do till you go to the next part, and it sort of shuffles you along this adventure.
There's a disclaimer at the end of the video that says this trailer was made entirely with in-game footage.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because I think the game looks great, but it doesn't look so great that I'm like, what? When I read that, like I didn't know that disclaimer was like.
Throw up all of your keyboard.
I can't stop.
No, but I mean that was more of like a screw you to everybody that makes trailers that don't have any in-game
Yeah.
footage.
You
But
think that's
No, but
Irrational Games is like,
They're like, look what we did. Why can't you do that? Because you're not us.
No, but I don't think like the game didn't look good enough that people are like, I don't
Not
think-
good enough.
don't
10 out of
believe
10.
No, it's a 10 out of 10 because of the reasons I explained. But I think
AC/DC, animation, art.
to say like this is made from all in-game footage, you need to have something that doesn't seem believable as in-game footage. Like what? That looks so good that I don't believe it's in-game footage. Otherwise, it's like, well, yeah, obviously that was in-game footage. That's all.
See, I love those games, but it's kind of a gift and a curse that they have this really unique enemy design, but there's only like 4 or 5 of them. So it's like, man, look at this guy. He's like the handyman. He's so cool looking. And then you fight like 40 of them throughout the game, and by the end, like,
It's true.
you know,
Well, they've only revealed a certain amount.
it's true. And the ones they've shown so far have been really cool.
Yeah.
They've been really cool enemies so far.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's like you say, they definitely put that flag in the ground.
Do you
They
think it's
said-
going to get delayed?
Like we were just talking about, it would be very hard to delay it now.
Yeah, I mean,
Now
if you
I
would've-
feel like they're probably going to ship it.
Yeah, if
Maybe
you would have
it'll
asked
be
me
a-
last week, I would have said I am 90% sure that game's
too.
being delayed again. But
Yeah.
now,
I'm just picturing you're playing the game, the final retail copy, and there's a rail that you're flying down,
like,
and then you just go off into space, like it just ends. Your character drops down because they didn't finish the game.
oh,
That's
I
the
get it.
joke,
I get
yeah.
the joke. I thought you were gonna say Pac-Man. It's like
No. Just that the rail ends and he flies off
Yeah.
into the clouds because there's no
Oops.
city left.
no one
like,
tested
we
the
couldn't-
final level.
Well,
We couldn't finish it.
so consider this: the certification process for a game,
Yeah.
the manufacturing, that takes
A month, probably.
like at least. So like it's coming out in February. Basically, that game is done now.
Yep.
It's their bug testing.
Done.
Yep.
And none of us have played the game.
It's a big secret.
Yeah,
And they're even like, here's the final packaging, here is the pre-order bonuses, here's everything, here's the whole like deluxe set.
They
you're
got a
gonna
board
get.
game coming
It's a
out.
board game that you can get a piece for in the final packaging for or the pre-order bundle.
I'm
You
interested.
get
You get a
board
piece.
game.
you get a piece of one of the. You get the handyman character. He looks like one of those like muscle mans from the 80s.
Muscle Man.
Oh man, I love
Yeah.
muscle.
Yeah. Oh
guys are
man, I
awesome.
love muscle.
What does it stand for? Mini.
Oh, many ultimate
Yeah, like.
suckers.
Oh great, now.
Can't let each other man.
Anyway,
I
I'll
don't
figure
know.
it out and I'll
Nope.
put
Where'd
the,
that extra M come from?
For the man at the end, for muscle man.
Muscle
Oh, okay,
Man.
good point.
It's the extra S in mans that you should be asking. I've said it 8 times now. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
we'll see. I'm betting it's gonna get delayed. That's me. I'm gonna say it right now. BioShock
You're
Infinite will
publicly
get-
saying
yes, BioShock Infinite will get delayed.
here in front of.
Yep, it will not release in February of 2013.
Okay.
That's my guess.
All right, we'll see. I want to bring Clements into this discussion. We have an email here from our listener, Marion Ortiz.
Ready.
And the question is sort of goes along the same lines as what we were talking about with BioShock Infinite and fears about how scripted it is. Marion says, with this whole Mass Effect / Dragon Age trend of changes and decisions on the game story that we see nowadays, do you guys like it like that or prefer those classic moments in games when the game tells its own story, like when Aerith dies in Final Fantasy VII, spoilers,
Wait, what?
or Blank getting shot in the head in the Blanking Blank game? You know.
I think that's the Walking Dead game. And his name is Zombie. No, I've actually been playing. I'm about halfway through episode 3 of The Walking Dead right now, and I'm going through the sort of similar motions where I'm like, I sort of wish this game would just give me a story, because every time I screw something up, or I don't do something right, or I let someone live or die, or make some decision, like it weighs on me, and it sucks. But it's great too.
You just don't want to take responsibility for your actions.
No, I
You
don't.
just be
Because
like, well, the game, that's the way the story happens.
there's one part where they're like, "Do you want to kill this guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, kill him." And then I do, and then like the little girl's there, and she's like,
Yeah, and then
I'm
you
like,
see-
"I'm so sorry."
at
you
the
had
end
to
of the
see that."
game, like only 5% of the people kill
Yeah,
him. It's like,
and you're
I'm a
like,
monster.
Yeah, you're like I'm a monster. And you want to be like, you want to look at her and you be like, "The world's covered in the undead. There's nothing we can do. It's a dark place. I can't help you." But you can't, so it's just you know.
That's
you have to go
what,
with
better
it.
with Connect though. You can yell at it.
Oh, you can
Record it.
scream, "I'm sorry."
Yell at
Scream your
Clementine.
apologies.
I'm sorry.
You can repent.
Well, because like the game does stuff like where
The
you're like
zombies
3
tear
episodes
you.
later, they're like, "I'm gonna remember that." You're like,
Yeah.
why? Don't know. It was just we were just talking like bros. Like you don't have to remember that. Like,
Clementine remembers that you let her down.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
some guy's like, "Oh, how'd you get
feels
here?" And
so
you're like,
bad.
"Oh, I walked." And he's like, "Oh, it's weird. A couple weeks ago, you told me you took a car. I fucking hate you."
Yeah.
And you're like, "What?"
Whatever paternal instincts I have, Walking Dead totally takes
Oh, yeah.
advantage of them.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I will do anything. I'll do
protect that
whatever
girl?
it takes
Yes.
to protect Clementine.
I'll
Yes.
murder any of
I
y'all
will kill
motherfuckers.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that series is going, you're probably gonna have to.
Yeah.
It's great too because some of the decisions in that game are literally in all caps. Like you can be like, "No, don't worry about it," and then, or the other one's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And I always choose that one. I'm like, "Don't touch her! I'll kill you!"
It's 0 or 100, man.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. Like I know we're gonna have discussions about Game of the Year at IGN, and I'm gonna bring that up because I'm really liking it so far. But other people might have a completely different experience than I did playing that game.
That's what I think is so cool about it.
Yeah.
So if we can get serious about this for a second.
No, let's not get serious.
Okay.
No, I'm fine. Let's get serious.
Can we get physical?
Getting physical.
I think some of the choices that you make in games like Walking Dead end up being a little bit superficial because there's still a team making the game, and I have a choice. You're playing episode 3 right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't spoil it. You have a choice of leaving someone behind or taking someone with you.
Yeah, I just made that choice.
Okay, and I chose to take this character with me.
Me too, and she did not deserve that.
No, but then in the back of my head,
that's
I'm
fair.
like,
Yeah.
I'm like, so other gamers have the choice of leaving this character behind. So in the back of my head, I'm like, now I know that she is never going to play a major part in the story again.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think everyone's game can be drastically different.
But they're not.
In episode 4, there is a choice you can make, and then like it totally determines whether or not. It totally determines how episode 5 is set up.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious. Maybe I shouldn't speak because I'm playing them on iPad, so I'm an episode behind everybody else. But like this character, I'm like, okay, I'm going to choose to take this character with me. And then in the next scene, she leaves, and I'm like, so either I left her behind or she leaves of her own accord. Like the result is the same. Like, I'm curious about. I don't feel like people's games are that radically different. Like I feel like we're in the infancy of letting gamers make choice and really sort of affect the future of a game's story, and they
Sort
still
of.
need to
I mean,
figure out.
I would say that like an experience like Heavy Rain had drastically different
That's
endings
true.
for people. Like there were very different paths that game took for many people. Like you could end that game with all of your characters alive, or all of them horribly dead.
That's a good point. And I
For
played
very different
Not
reasons
just dead,
too.
horribly dead.
Horribly dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or regular dead. They could die in
Regular
any
dead.
number of ways.
Like for me, I think it was like the cop. Like at the end, he was like, "Oh man, I'm fine," and then he started getting nosebleeds because he was like a drug addict and crazy. And then somebody else was at a book signing, and they're like, "You lived, but someone wants to kill you now." And it's like no one else I knew had that ending. Other people were just like, "Oh man, all my guys died." So, I mean, yeah, I totally agree. We're like in this era now where we're starting to experiment with these type of things in games, and I actually like it. You know, as much as I complained earlier that it sort of tears me up, but I like that it's happening. I hope that it's
I do
something
too.
that happens for a while. It gets kind of weird when you get to be like, hey, we're like 4 games in. Did you play the last 3? Or, you know, like if I wanted to start with Mass Effect 3 or something and I hadn't played the last 2, then
Yeah, they got to get better about people that come in late. Because I started playing Walking Dead on PC and I switched to iPad, and then when I played the new episode on iPad, it just made random choices for me.
Right.
It's like, we're just gonna make random choices for what you did in the past. I'm like, why? Why not let me?
do you want them to be like,
Yeah.
so hypothetically, there's this girl and she shoots another girl point blank in the head, and seconds later you're like, do you want to come with us?
Yeah, they should do that. I mean, they should say these
I'm
are the
asking
5.
for a friend.
Like these are the 5 choices that you made in episode 1, and then
Yeah.
let you toggle through them if you're gonna start on a new platform. I think for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird to boil the choices down like that in just like a little drop-down menu.
Yeah,
when
that's
it's like,
true.
There's so much more weight when they're happening on the fly, and there's a timer going in. Like, I gotta make a decision right now.
I know.
Sure, but now I mean I'm stuck with Doug on iPad.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
I didn't-
Doug sucks.
I didn't
Doug's
save
great.
Doug.
Really?
Doug's great.
I didn't save Doug.
So I just wanted to say though, the original question was,
Yes.
do we like?
Which version do we like?
Oh no. So yeah, the original question is, do we like choice making or stories that are set in stone?
Yeah,
Yes,
a story
correct.
that is told to us.
Yes, correct. And I think there are great aspects of both, and I actually really do appreciate player-driven decisions, player-driven story, I should say. I think there's always going to be like a real kind of purity and tradition to just a story being told.
Sure.
You are participating in it, but you are not, guiding its direction. And I think that's actually sometimes even more powerful because there's kind of an inevitability to it, especially like if you kind of know that you're barreling towards some terrible fate, but you can't really avoid it.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
I don't know. I disagree with you and everything you said.
I think I do. I
you
mean, I
are.
think
All the choices you've made in your life.
Everything you stand for.
if you want to have like a powerful story told to you or experience a powerful story, you can watch Breaking Bad or watch a movie or read a book. Games are the only medium that users have the ability
Sure.
to affect change on the world.
Sure.
And so I think that the future of video games and how that narrative is going to continue to stand out from other forms of artistic expression
Sure.
or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder
That's
about that too.
I think so. I was complaining earlier about like the clunkiness, but I think that's because we're still kind of figuring it out and we're new at it. And Heavy Rain and Mass Effect and these sort of games are definitely on the right track. I don't think we're all the way there yet. I think the future of games looks more like that than an Uncharted game where everyone experiences the exact same thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just think that there will always be people. I hope that there are always people telling stories, and then there will. And sure,
No, let's be clear. It's not like Telltale isn't telling a story.
Yeah.
telling a story without the player affecting that story.
So why is that beneficial to you?
It's beneficial to me because I think that, well, first of all, you have to think about the fact that the moment you make a choice, the developer now has to take resources and create two almost entirely different games or like avenues of plot, and that just enhances cost. And I think that, so there's a cost, but anyway, there's a cost to be considered there as well.
Sure.
But then, on the other hand, I think that it's just a story that is told very precisely by the writers and the developers has the advantage of being so laser focused and so subtle and perfected, and they've thought everything through, and they've made sure that it reaches certain emotional highlights, and it has like its ups and downs, its peaks and its valleys, all these sorts of wonderful things. I think that will, until we get like so good at interactive stories that a story can still have all the subtlety of a well-crafted non-interactive plot.
Sure.
But until then, I just think that stories will probably be better massaged when they're just
Focusing on like one set of characters with one set of outcomes.
It doesn't even have to be one set of characters. Just that, yes, the outcomes are always the same,
Sure.
and it can be fine-tuned.
I mean, I trust like a competent writing staff to come up with branching paths for certain characters. I mean, something like The Walking Dead, like it never really feels like, oh man, I made this decision and now I'm down like shitty writing road, where all of a sudden like all the characters
of course.
But they're also only dealing with like 5 or 6 characters that things can possibly happen to.
And I don't mean to imply that like the Walking Dead staff or any video game developers that are choosing to do interactive stories aren't competent enough or they're not good writers to create a good story. What I'm saying is that there's also an advantage of when you have a defined plot, you also have the benefit and I think the really important emotional impact of having shared experiences.
Yeah.
So when you are reading a book and you get to a part and then your friend, your lover, or like family member also is reading that book, you can share in that experience together. It's like something that like resonates with multiple people.
Mm-hmm. It makes it harder to share games with friends. We all like half the fun of playing something or reading or watching something is coming into work the next day and talking about it with people that feel the same way as me. But like with Mass Effect, it's like, oh man, that part with Ashley, and they're like, what? Ashley died two games ago. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
surprise.
Yeah. So
I'm glad TV doesn't do that because I don't want to come into work and be like, oh man, my Walt died last night. Mine didn't. I got 2 more seasons, and I'm like, oh.
Sure, but I think I still go back to the difference that you are a part of the game. You're participatory in the experience. So if you're playing your shepherd as an asshole, like that needs to be a different experience than someone that's playing him as a saint. And so, yeah, this is definitely the way that video games are going. They're going to be more interactive. Clements, you touched on a great point earlier that it's really, really challenging from a development standpoint too. If you have a branching path, suddenly you're putting time and resources and money and manpower into a path that half of people are
never even see. Exactly, that's the thing.
And so that's what I was thinking. That's what I think about with Mass Effect, where the funnel just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like in the starting game, you have whatever, a dozen choices, and then that branches into a dozen more paths in 2 and a dozen more in 3. And so 3 has, like, how many hours of voice acting does 3 have that
no one will ever hear?
That no one will ever hear. And 99% of people will never hear in their copy of the game. Like that can't continue indefinitely.
Some people argue for like replayability in situations like this, but like when I'm done with The Walking Dead, I'm done. Like I want that experience to be that experience I had from start to finish, and I don't want to go back and like redo all my decisions and stuff like that.
That's why I actually think replayability as built into gameplay is a better way to design a game than it is to have branching storylines. This is just a personal opinion, but like for example in Borderlands, like the gameplay is what brings you back. The story doesn't change, but it's the fact that there's always a different gun, there's always a better gun, there's different classes you can play as, but it's just like the different ways to play. And again, like as we were arguing, like that's the reason games are special, is because you interact with them. If your interactions change, not necessarily the story that's being shown to you, but your actual influence on the game world.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, I think if you're a really, really true expert storyteller, like a great, craft of writing a story and dialogue, and that's your passion, then you're probably not making video games. You're probably writing movie scripts or writing television scripts, because you can have that pinpoint level of control. Like no one would write a movie script and be like, and then the character got stuck in a room for an hour because they didn't know where to go. Yeah. Like games you have a really, really hard time at telling a story in a game as well as, you can in a movie where you can control the angle. Like where you place the camera, how what the lighting is, that affects people's mood.
For sure.
The
We had
music
we had a Borderlands feature that went up a few weeks ago that talked about the music in that game and how it's writing music for a video game is so much different because it's like you have this crazy fast-paced music and then my character can just stop and like stare at his watch and look at his inventory and it's like and I'm just not doing anything.
That calls upon developers to actually take things like that into account. And like it's true that you can have laser-focused accuracy when you're making a movie or writing a book, but if a developer thinks like maybe if a character slows down, let's slow the music down or let's dim the lights or something like, they still have that control. And I think it's a little. I think it's a little unfair to say that if you're a true genius of storytelling, you're probably not working in video games. Because I bet that people can choose like whatever avenue they want. Maybe they'll have less control over it, but that doesn't mean they're less talented.
I mean, in my experience, I love video games as the business I work in. I don't want to do anything else. I think telling a story through gameplay and that marriage of the player being a participant in the story is incredible. It's powerful, but. Yeah, I mean, I think I also watch movies. I also experience TV shows, and I get different things out of them. And in my experience, the story in almost every game is, it's kind of disposable.